In November 23rd, 2025, a 13-year-old girl stepped out of her home for what should have been the most ordinary reason, to play with her best friend, who lived just one house away. It was a distance so short that no one could ever imagine it would be the last time she walked out of that door. She didn't know that the place she had always considered safe would soon become the location of an unimaginable tragedy. And she certainly didn't know that the person who would take her life was not a stranger, but someone her family trusted completely. The area was Par's estate, Jalandhar, a typical middle-class residential neighborhood. A place where everyone knew each other, where children played freely outside, where doors often stayed unlocked because trust wasn't just a word there, it was a way of life. The girl lived here with her family and studied in 8th grade. Her life was simple and routine. School in the morning, homework in the afternoon, and evenings spent playing with her closest friends. Her best friend lived right next door. The two families were extremely close. They celebrated festivals together. Their homes were always open to one another. This was the kind of environment where no one ever imagined danger could exist so close. But every story has a turning point. And for this story, that turning point came on November 23rd, when a normal day suddenly turned into an extraordinary tragedy. The man at the center of this case was Harminder Singh, approximately 48 years old. Though some sources mention he was around 45. By profession, he worked as a private school bus driver. On the surface, he appeared completely ordinary. He lived in the same Par's estate neighborhood, right next to the victim's house. His daughter and the girl had grown up together and were best friends since childhood. To understand how disturbing this case truly is, it's important to understand who Harminder was to the family. Locally, people knew him as Rimpy or Happy, an ironic nickname, considering what he would eventually do. He regularly visited the victim's home. In many ways, he was treated like a family friend. The girl even addressed him as uncle, a word that represents respect, safety, and trust. And that is exactly what makes this case so unsettling. Here's an important psychological reality that comes up in many crimes like this. Predators often come from within the closest circle. They build trust slowly. They become familiar. They make families comfortable around them, so that when the moment comes, the victim never suspects danger. Harminder didn't build this trust overnight. It took years. And on that one day, he used that trust in the most horrific way possible. On Saturday, November 23rd, around 4 p.m., the girl left her home to go play at her friend's house next door. Before leaving, she told her mother exactly where she was going. "I'm just going to the house next door to play." It was the simplest, most normal thing a child could say, and there was absolutely no reason for her mother to feel afraid. But what happened after that would change everything forever. Her mother had no idea that those would be the last words she would ever hear from her daughter. She didn't stop her from going outside. And why would she? Her daughter had done this countless times before. The house was right next door. The family was trusted. Her friends lived there. There were no red flags, none at all. At around 4:05 p.m., a CCTV camera captured a moment that would later become crucial evidence in this case. The footage showed the girl standing outside Harminder's gate, bending down to fix her shoes. A few seconds later, she walked inside the house. That was the last time she was ever seen alive. On that day, Harminder was home alone. His wife and daughter had gone to Ludhiana. Whether this was a coincidence or something planned remains unclear. There is no confirmed answer even now. When the girl entered the house, she asked about her friend. Harminder told her that his daughter wasn't home, that she had gone out. Up to that moment, everything seemed normal. But then, Harminder blocked her way. What followed was an act of complete betrayal. The 13-year-old tried to resist with all her strength. The same man she called uncle. The same man she trusted blindly. She fought back. She tried to save herself. It's difficult to even imagine the fear, or the shock of realizing that the danger was coming from someone she trusted completely. But Harminder was older, physically stronger, and more powerful. When he realized that she would not stop resisting, he used force. Later, medical evidence would confirm that her death was caused by strangulation. There were clear signs of struggle, and forensic findings supported what had happened inside that house. Further confirmation awaited the final report. Think about this for a moment. The person you call uncle. The house where you've played freely since childhood. The same place becoming the end of your life. That level of betrayal is impossible to put into words. By around 6 p.m., The girl's mother started to feel uneasy. Maybe it was a mother's instinct. But something felt wrong. Her daughter had been gone for almost 2 hours. So she walked next door and knocked on Harminder's door. He opened it calmly. She asked him directly, "Where is my daughter?" Without hesitation, in a completely normal tone, Harminder replied, "She never came here." This moment reveals the true psychology of the man. A child's body was still inside his house. And yet he looked her mother in the eye and lied that he said it calmly. And he said it convincingly. But thankfully, her mother didn't fully believe him. Something didn't feel right. She immediately told the neighbors everything. That her daughter had gone to Harminder's house. That she had gone there to play. And that she still hadn't returned. The search began. At first, people tried to give Harminder the benefit of the doubt. They searched nearby streets, nearby houses, hoping the girl had gone somewhere else. But there was no evidence. Nothing that suggested she had gone anywhere beyond that house. That's when someone remembered the CCTV camera in the area. Around 6:30 p.m., footage from a private neighborhood camera was reviewed. And that's when the truth became impossible to ignore. The video clearly showed the girl standing inside Harminder's gate at 4:05 p.m. She entered the house, but she never came back out. If she went in and never came out, there was only one possible conclusion. The parents immediately called the police. What happened next exposes how dangerous police negligence can be. Not just as a mistake, but as a crime in itself. Police arrived at the house. An officer named ASI Mangat Ram reached the scene. The family showed him the CCTV footage. Clear, undeniable proof that the girl had gone inside Harminder's house. The officer entered the house and conducted a search. Just a few minutes later, he came back outside. Standing in front of the gathered crowd, he made a statement. "There is nothing suspicious inside the house. The girl is not here." Let that sink in. A 13-year-old child's body was inside that house. And a trained officer failed to find her. Whether this was pure incompetence or something more deliberate is still unclear. But either way, this was criminal negligence. That is the only word that fits. The family was shattered. They had proof. But the authorities were telling them they had found nothing. By this point, it was already 8 to 9 p.m. Crucial hours had been lost. And that's when the public made a decision. If the system wasn't going to act, they would take matters into their own hands. An angry crowd formed outside Harminder's house. Family members, neighbors, and local residents. They entered the house again. This time, it wasn't a formal search. This was desperation. This was a collective rage. Rage against a system that had already failed earlier that day. People searched forcefully. Every room. Every corner. And then, inside the bathroom, they found her. The child. Lifeless. Hidden away. Not like a human being, but like an object someone wanted to get rid of. There are moments that simply cannot be described with words. This was one of them. A mother standing in front of her daughter's body. A child who had left home laughing just a few hours earlier. And now, she was gone. What followed was a raw example of vigilante justice. I'm not justifying it, but context matters. The crowd dragged Harminder out of the house. They beat him mercilessly. People wanted to take justice into their own hands. Because the system they trusted had failed them. From the outside, it may look organized. It wasn't. This wasn't a plan. It was an explosion of collective pain. Harminder was seriously injured. He was bleeding heavily. And ironically, police had to be called to rescue the accused. The same police who had failed to find the child earlier were now saving the suspect from the crowd. That contrast tells you everything. Harminder was admitted to the civil hospital under intensive care. His injuries were severe. But the trauma of the victim's family? That has no treatment, no medicine, no healing process. The next day, Sunday, November 24th, public outrage reached its peak. The case went viral on social media. News channels covered it nonstop. But the focus had shifted. Now, the spotlight was on police negligence. Senior officials, including the Commissioner of Police and the ADCP, came under intense pressure. Action had to be taken. ASI Mangat Ram was not just suspended. He was dismissed from service. Terminated. The reason? Dereliction of duty and criminal negligence. Soon after, reports surfaced that the victim's family had written letters to senior authorities, including the governor, the chief minister, the DGP, and the commissioner of police. They alleged that senior officers had pressured them to not pursue legal accountability for ASI Mangat Ram's negligence. If true, that raises disturbing questions. Because think about this. If one officer had simply done his job properly, a career wouldn't have ended in disgrace, and a system wouldn't be under this level of scrutiny. And that's when the biggest question began circulating. Did he simply fail? Or did he deliberately look the other way? That question remains unanswered. Sadly, even now, we don't have all the answers. But soon after, the victim's post-mortem was completed. Initial reports had already confirmed that the cause of death was strangulation. What authorities were waiting for was the final chemical examination report, which was crucial for the legal process, especially to firmly establish charges under the POCSO Act. In Parra's estate, a candlelight march was organized. People came out onto the streets, especially women and children, all demanding justice. This was no longer just one family's grief. It had turned into collective trauma for the entire community. On Monday, November 25th, Harminder Singh was discharged from the hospital and produced directly in court. His physical condition was still fragile due to the mob beating. But the legal process did not stop. And that's important. During court proceedings, police requested 10 days of police remand. The reasons were clear. Recovery of evidence, crime scene reconstruction, detailed interrogation, an investigation into whether anyone else was involved. Initially, there were no confirmed accomplices. After hearing arguments from both sides, the court granted 9 days of police custody, 1 day less than what police requested, but still sufficient time for investigation. Now, you might wonder, why is this such a big deal? Because this decision shows how seriously the case is being treated. This is a fast-track approach, usually reserved for high-priority cases. By evening, the victim's family and local political leaders held a press conference. Their demands were clear: a fast-track trial, and the harshest possible punishment under law. To wrap everything together, this case has multiple layers. First, a child's trust was brutally betrayed. Second, there was a clear systemic failure. Third, the clash between mob justice and the legal system became unavoidable. And fourth, the most important question of all: are children truly safe in our society today? We have CCTV cameras. We have police checkpoints. And yet, cases like this continue to happen. As of November 28th, Harminder Singh remains in police custody. The investigation is ongoing. Thankfully, forensic teams have thoroughly examined the crime scene. Digital evidence, phones, call records, CCTV footage has all been secured. But the bigger question still remains. Why do crimes like this keep happening? For now, this case stands here, pending justice. And with that, I hope you're safe. I hope you're healthy. And I'll see you in the next upload.